So there's an interesting thing currently going on in my home state of New York. So Kyrie Irving is unvaccinated, and there was this rule in New York that he is not allowed to play for his team, the Nets. And interestingly, he is allowed to play on the road in most places. So I think there's some places he still can't play on the road, although they may have changed that. I don't know. But there were some places in California he wasn't able to play, so couldn't play the Warriors, couldn't play the Lakers or the Clippers, I think. He couldn't play at the home games, but he could play most of the road games. And that is because of the various vaccine rules in different states and localities. And, you need a vaccine to enter these public buildings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now they're actually getting to a point where some of these restrictions are being lifted or tweaked. And by the way, buckle up. I saw there was a new variant that is now on the rise. So, oh my God, here we go again. I hope we don't have another COVID wave. It's very possible we do. I forget, the new variant went from like 11% of national cases to like 24% in 1 week. So we may get hit again, and I think typically what we saw was summer waves in many places of the country weren't as common because it is harder for a virus to spread in the summer generally. In the winter, it's easier for a virus to spread. But now there's a rule. There's been some rule changes in New York. Now the rule change is if you're unvaccinated, you can go places. Like you can go to some restaurants and you can go to the arena if you want to watch a game. That didn't used to be the case. Now it is the case. And, but there's this massive contradiction because there's another rule that says, at your workplace, you have to be vaccinated. And so Kyrie Irving's workplace is the arena. But hold on. The arena, they're allowing in the public if they're unvaccinated. But since he works there in the same place, he has to be vaccinated. Now, the easiest solution to all this, let's get this out of the way real quick right away, is just get vaccinated, Kyrie. Like, you're going to be fine. The number of people who've gotten the vaccine, it's so many people who've gotten the vaccine. The adverse reactions are incredibly tiny. You're overwhelmingly likely not going to have an adverse reaction. And then on top of that, of course, you have a 90% protection from severe illness, hospitalization, or death, actually over 90%. So, I mean, the point that everybody thinks up front is just, let's just get vaccinated and end this. Okay. Now, he didn't do that. It's been a really long time. He's not going to do that. He has reasons that he doesn't want to get it. Now, I'm on team, hey, I don't agree with you, Kyrie, but what am I going to do? I can't force you to get it. It's your life, your decision. It is what it is. I could try to convince you using arguments and data, etc., and I'll do that. But if at the end of the day he says, no, I can't, what am I going to do? You can't just force him to get it. That's not the way it works. Now, you can have a policy of like, okay, if you're not going to get it, you should get tested. That's fair enough. I'm on board with that. And Kyrie probably would be too. But so you have the contradiction. He can go to the arena to watch the game, but he can't play in the same arena. What? So Kyrie was at one of the games, the home games. Everybody's like, this is ridiculous. You got this massive contradiction in the rule. Like, either you don't let him in at all, or you let him in and also let him play. Like, it's obvious. That's the logically consistent thing to do. Kyrie didn't play, but there was a time where he went into the locker room. Why? Because he's on the fucking team. That's why he went to the locker room. Well, because he went to the locker room, the team is being fined $50,000 by the state. Just make the shit make sense, please. That's all people want. So Kevin Durant comes out, and he's asked about this weird state of affairs, and he says the following.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand it at all. I mean, there's a few people in our arena that's unvaxxed, right? Like, they lifted all of that in our arena, right? So I don't get it.
It's a second mandate that says he can come in but can't play.
I don't get it. It just feels like at this point now, somebody's trying to make a statement or a point to flex their authority. But, everybody out here looking for attention, and that's what I feel like the mayor wants right now, some attention, But he'll figure it out soon. He better. But it just didn't make any sense. Like, there's unvaxxed people in this building already. We got a guy who can come into the building. I guess, are they fearing our safety? I don't get it. So, yeah, we're all confused. Pretty much everybody in the world is confused at this point. Early on in the season, people didn't understand what was going on, but now it just looks stupid. So hopefully, Eric, you got to figure this out.
It is definitely stupid. It is definitely stupid. It is definitely contradiction. It makes absolutely no sense. My slight disagreement with him is that I don't think it's about power. I think it's about bureaucracy. I think it's about, you have these rules, they're put into place at different times, and, when things get changed, it wasn't reviewed in a all-inclusive kind of way, and so certain changes are made which seemingly make sense, but then others haven't caught up yet, and so I think it's more about bureaucracy than about just an arbitrary flex of power. But either way, he's right. Like, either be consistent and say he can't even come in the building, which I don't agree with, or just say, look, let him play. He's in the building anyway. He's in the arena anyway. And so there is no difference between being on the floor or being in the stands. If anything, when you're in the stands, you would be more of a threat to people nominally because you're closer to people, There are more people in close proximity to you when you're in the stands versus when you're actually on the court. So, just let him play. Point number one is, Kyrie, I promise you'll be good. Just get the vax. I promise you'll be good. But if you're not going to get it, okay, well, they should still let you play. I think that's just so non-controversial that it should be obvious, but I don't know. It seemed to me when I saw, I forget who tweeted out this video, but I think it was maybe New York Post, but I was reading some of the replies underneath it. And a lot of people were like somehow defending the weird contradictory rule. Now that makes no sense. And that's just fucking annoying that people are not actually digesting what the facts of the situation are and making a more informed case. Like, it's one thing if somebody said they shouldn't even allow them in the building because I think we should still have a hard vaccine mandate. That's one thing. I don't agree, but that's a point you could make. A point you can't make is the way it is working right now makes sense, because it literally does not make sense. It's a complete and utter contradiction. You're allowed in the stadium, but you can't play. You're allowed to be unvaccinated in the stands, but you're not allowed to be unvaccinated on the floor. Come on. Nobody in their right mind can look at that and say, yeah, that's logical. It's just not. It's not logical. So anyway, I think Kevin Durant is right. And I was at Crystal and I went to a game in Washington, D.C. And it was against the Nets. And we saw Kyrie was there and he was playing. And it's funny because, like, the crowd, how the crowd sometimes tries to interact with the players. Well, there was a lot of that going on. And Kevin Durant, who was injured, he showed up late. But when the crowd tried to interact with Kevin Durant, he was very, very standoffish and dickish and paid them no mind or whatever. Now, I get it. He's at work. So he feels like, I don't want to deal with this. Okay, fair enough. Like, I'm not judging him over that. But Kyrie, when the crowd would try to interact with him, every time he interacted with them. And there was like a kid that was in the front row that Kyrie made a point to go out of his way to go like fist bump the kid, and the kid was like so excited. There was somebody who kept trying to like over interact with Kyrie, and Kyrie in a very joking way where he was giggling was like, "Hey man, I'm at work." So he was like playing around with him. He's being very playful. And, just watching the way that he was interacting with people, it was hard not to like him. Like, he seemed like just a very down-to-earth dude. And, again, I don't agree with him on the vaccine thing. I think he should get the vaccine. It's not just about him. It's about everybody else. And you could almost promise him he's going to be totally fine if he gets it, and it's going to help him, if anything. But, it's hard when you look at him and he was just a very, like, nice dude, and he was interacting with everybody and treating everybody equally and fairly. And so that also... I'd be lying to you guys if I said that didn't also impact my judgment here. That's not, it's not the end all be all point. It's not the debate ender. But it was interesting seeing his character up front and also comparing it to every other player on the floor. Like, he was the most interactive, the most kind to everybody. And even with like the staffers, like, so it Crystal and I both noticed that, and we're like, damn, he seems like he's like the coolest dude. But anyway, they really got to change the rule. It makes absolutely no sense. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.